Okay, welcome back, Marcin, again. And today we will discuss what's going on with inverse kinematics and forward kinematics. So, in short, it's IK and FK. So, first of all, before we're jumping in, let me show what FK does. So, going back to local mode, and FK is basically the puppet type of animation when you have a structure, when you have a rig, and you can adjust the chains individually. Okay, so that's basically this very simple approach. You can pose your model that way, like a wire figure or an armature. That is forward kinematics. Inverse kinematics is something different. In the inverse kinematic chain, at the end, you have a target, and that chain is trying to keep a track on that target and trying to make a contact with the target. Now, the first type of animation, the forward kinematics, is great for the upper body in this case, when there is no contact with an outer surface. For example, the figure is not touching a table, handling a wheel, touching himself, and the palm is not planted or anchored anyways. But usually the feet are anchored, so this is why it's a good idea. But on the other hand, you can turn this on and off. So what situation would you want to turn it on and off? So for instance, if you want to make the figure sit, you can actually select the this bone in here, that is the ankle, and you can actually see that this is IK targeted. So if you remove that and move this IK slider and move the motion panel, that means now you can pose this just as a normal puppet-like feature. Okay, so you can easily pose it. Now, I'm not in animation mode, so this is why I'm pressing back and carefully waiting until it performs the undo. But there we are. We have some basic animation, and now we can take a look at this IK target system and this slider, so how to do this. Now, here's the palm of the hand. I'm in local mode, and first of all, need an animation key. And the idea is that it will touch the wheel, and the wheel will rotate a little bit. And as the wheel rotates, the hand will keep a contact with the rotation. So that's the idea. Now, what we want to do is we want to grab the wheel at maybe 40. So before we grab the wheel, I like to make a preparation frame at 25. So what I will do, I will make sure that all of these are keyed, so double clicking on the top, the upper arm, and press K to key them, or you can use this set key button. And now I'm posing this, so everything is keyed already. That will be useful if we have to make corrections later on or anything like that. So first let me make sure that the pose of the hand will be a good one, so like touching from the top, right? So we need to make sure that there is room in here to touch the wheel. Okay, so it's a preparation for that movement. Alright, that looks great. Okay, so from 0 it is lifting up. Okay, and there's an animation afterwards, so the body is moving forward. So we will for sure we need to make some adjustments, but that is looking fine. Okay, so 25. Now it's going through the wheel, and because of that, I will go to 15 and just pull it back and slightly add a cant, and then it's lifting up, going there. Just even more. Okay, so lifting up, and yep. So maybe the fingers should be closed at this stage. So double click on these to give some room. We don't want to interact with the wheel so early on, so we don't want to make these fingers going through the wheel. So double click. Yes, maybe the angle. It's just the center, the first root bone of this finger. Okay, so fingers closed. Yeah, now we have more room, and at 40 we want to make sure that this is touching the wheel. Okay, now let me turn off animation and just adjust the wheel a little bit to give some room here. Alright, so there will be the wheel. So at 40, auto key back on. At 40, the palm should be on the wheel. Okay, so now moving this in position, lifting it up even higher, moving it in, rotate slightly. So at 40 it is touching, and maybe this grip is not performed yet, so we will open back up the fingers. So fingers are selected, the pinky, opening this up, and then we will close it. Right, so double click here, open this up. Okay, and double click and open this up. So we are still in Forward Kinematics. This is just a moment when it has a contact with the wheel. Moving it back a bit. Alright. Yes, there we are. So at 25 it's there, and at 40 it's going up here. Now we have some changes going on here because of the body and the animation of the upper arm. That has an animation key. This was my previous key from my previous set. So, and that alters a bit the things, but now it looks good. So it starts from here, lifting up and going there. I think here this should be a little bit higher. So yeah, we need to make this one a little bit higher. So I'm just selecting it, an in-between key, and pulling it higher, tilting it a little bit. So going through, going up, and then touches. Okay, so at 40 we want to make sure that this is engaging and locking to the wheel. Now to do that, the palm is selected, and this is the moment when we are actually creating an IK target. So create IK target. Now this IK target is created at the very first frame of our animation. So this is the original position of the palm at the very bottom. This is where it's created. We don't need it at this point, we need it at 40. So to make that happen, we want to match the position of the palm and the position of the IK target at this area. So let me move IK target to palm. That means the IK target itself now has an animation. You can see how the IK target is transforming. Okay, so it's moving to that pose and position. So what else do we need? We also need to make sure that the IK target is actually performing. So at 40, I want to make sure that the IK is already engaged. So to do that, I will just go back one frame, 39, and at 39 I want to keep it FK. That means the way I did the animation. It's Forward Kinematics, and I want to keep that move. So moving back slightly, okay, back to the 100% of FK, and it is actually generating a key. So now we have an animated key. So if I'm moving my time slider, you can see there is this little highlight that shows that this one is animated. So I made no change in the value. That means I haven't moved it. I moved it once, then I moved it back instantly. And this change, even if there's no difference in the value, it creates a key for this slider. So at 39, it is still FK. Now we have kind of an anchor. We can move one frame, and at that frame, we can bring it down to Inverse Kinematics 100%. So why do we care? Now it is Inverse Kinematics, and you can see how the body is moving. So the body of the figure is moving, and Inverse Kinematics actually is holding the whole stuff in position. Okay, so the figure puts on its hand, and it's still working great. Okay, now what else? We can do more. Actually, we can select the IK and this wheel, isolate them with Q, Alt Q, and go to 40 frame. And actually what I'll do is I can link this element to the wheel. Okay, so select link, and I'll link this to the wheel. Alright, so what does it mean? Let me turn off Auto Key and just testing this. Ctrl H to hold the frame. So if anything goes wrong, we can go back with Ctrl Alt and F. So let me move this. You can see how it's traveling. The IK is traveling with the wheel. So let me turn back on Auto Key, leave isolation mode. And at 40, I want to create a frame for this, anchoring this whole rotation. And then at 40 to 50, I want to create a slight movement to the right. Okay, so it's touching the wheel, and the wheel is going back, or maybe going in other direction. So it's like steering, maybe a slow direction. Okay, so let me see that. Play it. Okay, so there is some steering motion. Alright, yes, we can spend way more time on this. We can actually still animating the target itself. So if the position is not correct, for example, at 50, we want to make sure that's a little bit rotating. So the hand is actually gripping. This is what I will do. I will just move this a little bit, make sure that this grip is looking okay. The fingers should be locked at 40. So at 40, I will just double click on here and press K. Sorry, the first one. And double click, press K to have a key, and then just simply lift this up. Okay, this one has a key at 40. Yes, we have a key at 40, but at 50 we want something else. So this one is a little bit going up because we have a contact with the surface. This could be a little bit angled, and definitely these could be folded up. Yeah. Okay, so there is a contact. This is why it's good if you have a good 3D mesh. Like, you can turn on Shift G, and now you see only the geometry. And it may help if you have a volume for the right bones. This is one of the benefits of using the cat rig. You can create these virtual volumes for the bones. Alright, so let me just bend it a little bit more. So, gripping on the surface. Yeah, actually that could be fine. Alright, so function 4, and see what's going on. So there's it, and then it grabs the whole thing. Okay, we can do more. We can actually release. So if there's nothing else going on, so it's just touches and grips the whole set, that could be fine. But if you want to release the grip, what you need to do is you need to animate again the whole thing. So there is a movement of this steering wheel, and it stops at 70. So maybe at 75 I want to release the grip. So before making the release at 74, I will make sure that we are locking the IK. So I move it back and forth to have some kind of a change, but it just records that, okay, this slider has now a key. And if I'm moving one, there's no highlight in here, there's no red. But if I'm going to 74, it's already there. So this way you can take a look and have a visual feedback on it. Alright, so at 75, what's going on? I want to go fully FK, and at 75, I need to make sure that this hand is not going that far from the whole thing. Okay, so here we are. It's one frame difference, so we are just moving back and looking for the right changes. Maybe I will add some more, add some time to it. Okay, yeah, it's easier to work it. And then the original animation is taking the lead. Okay, so the original animation is taking the lead, which one is not ideal with the wheel because we are crossing the wheel. So that should be a little bit of a fixture. But if you want to do that, we just need to select the forearm, for example, and see where's the key. Or double click on here and see where we have the keys. This is the keys we are looking for. And we can actually alter these and pull it back a bit instead of 120. So just pull it back a bit instead of going back. So pull it back in a high up position, like lifting off. Okay, so maybe moving in this direction. Okay, rotate this way. So just lifting off. Okay, just I was off with one frame, so I have to select all the keys on this frame and move them there. Okay, so that's what we do. Just lifting up and going to that way. If it's too far, we should make sure that it's not interacting anymore. Alright, of course the fingers should be opened, but that's what we can do. Alright, so it's depending on your existing animation. Going there, from 74, releases, 80, now it's there, now there's a movement going back. Alright, so let me play this. Okay, when it releases at 80, we should release also the fingers. So the fingers should be at 74. These fingers should be receive a key because we want to make that hand opening from that moment. So I'll double click on the palm and hold Alt key to remove the palm from the selection. Pressing K, now there's all keys set to the fingers. And then I can move to 80 where we have the release and make sure that these are opening a bit. So opening this up slightly, but this one should be bent. This one should open, but this was definitely alright. So you don't want to make it too even, it's not believable. So you have to make sure that these digits are opening in harmony. So there we are. This is a release. So going there, there's a release, and actually we can make sure that this release at 120, we can actually open up the fingers quite a lot. Okay, so just to make sure that this animation looks as expected, I will just open these up, and maybe even more to add some expression. And that is it. Okay, yeah, I like this pinky being bent. It looks fine. And maybe the thumb should go a little bit open. But that's it. Okay, so the fingers, what they do, going there, and oh yeah, there is some overlap there. So we can cheat a little bit. So where is this overlap? At this moment, there's a contact, no. But here's a contact point. So at 95, I will press K, animate the wheel, and this wheel will move because the finger touches it. So we want to make a move there. Contact. Yep, and there's this little move. just slightly speeds a bit. Okay, so it touches and maybe it goes a bit in the distance. Alright, so let me play this. How does it look? Auto key off. Play. So it grabs the wheel, steers it, and a little bit touches and pulls back. Okay, so that is the basic. What you have to keep in mind, that you clearly have to see what your goal is. And don't forget to make sure that this slider is used well. So you have to make sure that before you're actually changing from one to another, to set a key for that moment on, because if you don't do that, the transition will be pretty long. You don't want to have so long transitions. It is easier if you manage it in a shorter period of time. So a couple of frames, and then you're switching from IK to FK and back and forth. Usually it's happening pretty fast, because in the moment when it contacts, then it needs to be turned to IK. When it releases, then it is in a couple of frames and it needs to turn to FK to make work fine. Alright, thank you very much, and see you next time. Goodbye.